Good evening from Singapore. Welcome to Rebuild DeFiChain. I'm very excited to be here tonight and to present one of our community fund proposals. I brought YC today. He's very well known to the community already. He's part of Birthday Research, this gang that brought us the Light Wallet and a lot of other delights that make our life on DeFiChain so much easier. YC, happy to have you
Hey,
here. Thanks for coming.
thanks, Lord Mark. Hi, everyone. Really happy to be here again. I think this time around talking about a different thing, but I guess still happy to share about what we have been building, and what's exciting to come next.
Yeah, and this is really exciting, guys. Everybody who's watching, this is something what we've never done before, YC. You are planning a hackathon for DeFiChain.
Yeah, I believe this is the first time DeFi Chain community has seen a hackathon, and my team and I have spent considerable amount of time thinking about how we can push forward along with this very nice development of DeFi Meta Chain or what's going to come. Definitely, there are a lot of opportunities for us to tap on that development, that progress, and then see what we can do even more for the community. So I think later on I will share a lot more about why the hackathon and how it came about. But yeah, for now it's just really exciting to see that we'll be able to organize the first ever one for the community.
Okay, so thanks in advance for showing all these things tonight. I think you brought a nice presentation with you. I'm gonna share this presentation now, and I think we jump right into the presentation, YC.
Sure. Thanks. Yeah. So I think in focus. This is for the elaboration or the sharing of the CFP that was recently put out, specifically the number that you see on the bottom, regarding the hackathon for DeFi Meta Chain. But I think, as I mentioned, right, this is the first hackathon that we have seen in the community. So before that, maybe just touch a bit of background on what DeFi Meta Chain is, just to summarize again, also to provide an update across, the past tech talks that we have talked about this DMC project. In order to scale DeFi chain, an EVM compatible blockchain was proposed through a DFIP in November 2021. So with that came the idea of DeFi Meta Chain. Of course, there was a huge, overwhelming approval by the community. 91.8% of the people thought, we should have this as a progress for the community, for the project. So thereby gave birth to DeFi Meta Chain. So what it really does is three simple idea, right? EVM compatible blockchain, which means we can tap into the Ethereum ecosystem. Applications can be built very seamlessly. Scalable ecosystem, because we now can think about cross compatibility. We can give DeFi users the extensive access to EVM compatible chains. And lastly, is to future proof trends. I think this is one of the most important thing also, when conceptualizing this hackathon, as well as the overall DeFi Meta Chain project together with the community, which is to allow DeFi chain as a project to be resilient in times of change, because the industry changes so quickly, the ecosystem changes so quickly, so we need to be super future proof in that sense. And so, now that, of course, we have what DeFi MetaChain provides here is unencumbered access for developers to build dApps, right? And this is sort of like a solution to what DeFi chain previously was kind of lacking. I think, in a sense, it was lacking in terms of its access to the wider liquidity, the current native DeFi chain. And I think also limited developer tooling, the ability for developers to build on the current DeFi chain. And hence DeFi Meta Chain was born to really grow that liquidity and also to grow that ecosystem, to grow that developer community. So now that DeFi Meta Chain is coming up and that we have now unencumbered access, then the question is now what, right? So I think the natural next step would be to do what the developer community loves most, which is hackathon. I think especially within the DeFi, within the crypto community, people love to build products. We've seen so many good and cool projects out there in the community in the short few months, despite the market condition. And so this tells a lot. And I think hackathon is really the best event that we can think about to push the frontier forward. And so, why exactly a hackathon? I think this was also covered in the CFP, but three main reasons or main benefits that we can uh, really propose here is number one, of course, community growth, right? By having a hackathon, we tend to be able to reach out to people within and even outside of the DeFi chain community, especially the developers, to start building on DeFi meta chain. So this is, of course, the most fundamental, I think the most basic benefit that we can get from a hackathon, right? The second one is new projects to the ecosystem. Naturally, as an outcome of a hackathon, you would get to see many, many projects, many cool projects that will be added into DeFi meta chain. And specific to this, the hackathon, we have a goal to attract more than 1,000 participants with more than 30 completed projects by the end of this. So this means that even before, we really the goal here is really to hit the ground running. And so by having this sort of like metric for us to peg ourselves against, it really helps us and helps the community really hit get started, get the momentum in, so that more developers will come in even after the hackathon, knowing that okay, it's a vibrant community that people are building on and they also want to be a part of. And of course, the last one, of course, we always shouldn't just look inward. We decided to look outward a bit. It's tested and proven hackathons, right? The top 20 crypto projects out there have executed hackathons and enjoyed great successes in their communities. The hackathon itself was themselves were successes, and also they also brought success to the community. So then it's I think these reasons kind of like made it very compelling for us to put this proposal up. And so this proposal, just to give a bit of details as to what it really is, right? It's a hackathon that will be held virtually um, on DevPost. DevPost is a platform that typically organizes hackathons like this. And so the timeline here is that participants will have about 6 weeks to build their dApps and submit for evaluation, and the evaluation period will last for 2 weeks. So on the right, you can see a brief timeline of what's going to happen for DeFi Meta Chain. Of course, estimated about September, we can expect to see the DMC website and white paper. And in October, we can see the testnet launch, and then towards November, mainnet will be launched, barring any technical development hiccups. And of course, DeFi Meta Chain Explorer. And lastly, in November to December period would be the hackathon that we're thinking about. So if you look at the timeline, it flows very nicely because we want to prep the core foundation, the building blocks of the project first before we want to wait for the building blocks to be prepped first before the hackathon can be ready, and before it makes sense for us to invite developers to come in and build on DeFi Meta Chain. So I think this is one of the graphics that we were working with, and this is really a sneak peek, a sneak preview into what you can expect, just visually the idea of what DeFi Meta Chain and the hackathon can look like, right? It's really extending the boundaries, pushing the frontiers, you can think about that, of DeFi chain, right? Of course, we have DeFi as a core tenet, but with EVM, Web3 naturally comes into play. We have the metaverse, we have NFTs, we have GameFi. These are all topics that we can consider, which makes the project ever more exciting. And so, in terms of the hackathon, there would be a 300,000 DFI prize money to be won. There are two types of prizes. On the first part is general category. So that would be the best overall project. I think this is quite a standard type of tiering that you would see on hackathons. And then, of course, there's a second one, which is the special tracks. So special tracks includes the different subcategories of overall crypto Web3 projects, as you can see listed here. And of course, I think one very important thing in terms of accountability and also to as a sense of in the spirit of a CFP, it's important for us to also very clearly state where the funds are going to go. So as mentioned, 300,000 DFI out of the 350,000 that were asked through the CFP would be for the prize money to be won by participants, right? Then out of that, also portion of this CFP, or rather the fund that have been asked, will be sent to DevPost, which is number one for marketing, and number two for project management. And the reason for that is because DevPost is a platform that is extremely versed in hosting such a an event. And so it makes sense for us, especially as the first time for DeFiChain, to tap on their expertise to run these things, so that we ensure initial success. So that in future, even if we were to run it ourselves or any other community member wants to run it themselves, there's already that sense of understanding, that expertise that we can tap on. And then, of course, the last thing is internal marketing outreach, which we will use to continue to boost the sign up rate, the turn up for the hackathon. One thing I want to point out here in terms of the prizes worth 300,000 DFI is that, of course, there are questions in the community asking, hey, what how would we make sure that this prize money is effectively and in given out with integrity, right? So I think one of the very important thing here is also that we will make sure, and I think this will be transparent to everybody, the projects that will be submitted. And so if the projects are not completed, or the projects are not in a sense deemed to be uh, with integrity, with a proper well thought out process, then probably the consideration here would be to not give out the prizes for any specific category, for example. So in this case, in the CFP, a portion is also talked about where any excess of DFI will be returned back to the community fund. So this is a purely transparent process that we want to do, really just to push forward this first ever hackathon for DeFiChain. So I think this is really a really exciting milestone for the project, and so I would really like to appeal to everyone here, developers, especially on this show we build on DeFiChain. People who are watching this are likely builders of DeFiChain and even builders of other ecosystem. So if you have an idea, just join the hackathon, and then you'll be able to be part of it, and together with so many other exciting developers, so many great minds in the community. So details will be released shortly, but what happens here is you would probably have to sign up for an account via DevPost administratively, and then you can then either go solo or form a team of your own to take part in the hackathon. Then last thing is, of course, build a product, deploy it, and film a video to pitch the value of your product to the judges. So again, 6 weeks to build, 2 weeks of evaluation, and then we will release the winners. And of course, we can't do this, we couldn't have done this without the support of the community. I think the community has given overwhelming support, even though the current round has still been going on. I think the conversations on Reddit has been extremely healthy, extremely supportive. And so many people have already expressed their interest to be taking part in it. So we really look forward to more and more questions like this. We welcome all these inquiries, and when more details are ready for the hackathon, we'll be sharing them with you. So I think just to close off, I would just like to say to all community developers in and out of DeFiChain to start building for DeFi Meta Chain before the mainnet rollout. You can do that by writing Solidity smart contracts and test them on either BSC or Ethereum first, and then possibly use that, bring it to the hackathon, and then win yourself some cash prizes, right? DFI prizes in this case, and then let's hit the ground running. Thanks so much.
Fantastic, YC. Thanks for the presentation. I wrote down a couple of questions, but you answered most of them already. But let me just go over a couple. So you said it's 6 weeks of developing and then 2 weeks evaluation. Is there a deadline? So if somebody misses the start, can this join in later as well? Or do they have to be signed up on DevPost before the whole thing goes down?
That's a good point. I think the details have yet to be firmed up. I think
Okay.
there are a few models that we can consider. Of course, the fairest is a deadline for sign up, but then I think right off the bat, what I would think of is to have that deadline, because if we were to allow people to build in 2 weeks, doesn't mean they can't, but I think sometimes it compromises the quality as well, and we really want to have that quality of projects for the first ever hackathon.
Okay.
So yeah,
Full-
but
full-
more details will be shared
Okay,
later on.
cool. So all the information is gonna be available on DevPost, but I'm sure you guys gonna share it anyway on Twitter with all the
course.
links and everything. Awesome, like always.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Who is gonna be the jury? So there's a 2-week evaluation phase. Who do you put together to evaluate these projects?
That's the exciting part. So that's also one thing that will be released shortly. Again, this is also something that's very important, because it kind of is in that sense a very important part because you sort of serve as a gateway, right, to who wins, and you set the tone for the project moving forward. Of course, there's the idea of like using the technical community, but then again, this is still open up for discussion. Again, details to be released.
Okay, cool. Exciting. So a lot more to come. Programming language you mentioned already, that's going to be Solidity. That's correct, right?
Yeah.
So I've never done a hackathon. I'm also absolutely incapable of doing that, of course, because my coding skills are not that great. How do I have to think about it? So the dApps that's going to be developed, so there has to be kind of a rough first, they have to be in a rough first stage, or they have to be like fully developed. So what are you looking for in this hackathon actually? What does it, for example, 6 weeks is some time, but maybe not long enough to build something larger, right? Is it good enough like to put something together where you can see where it can go to, or does it have to be like really ready to roll out on DeFi MetaChain? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think I'm sure everyone will be familiar with the concept of like minimum viable product. We have 6 weeks. 6 weeks is, realistically, it's not possible for you to come up with something that is like, extensive. Proof of concept, I think, is a very important stage that we can hit so that, we show the viability of the concept, the idea. And of course, if it has legs to run, of course, then naturally you will be more inclined to win the prize. And then beyond that, you can take the prize to continue either developing it or, develop further beyond that 6 weeks. But I think to answer your question is really just to show that the idea behind it and the execution is there, and that there is sustainability, scalability to scale beyond the hackathon. I think that's a very core portion, because we definitely don't want people to build something and then once hackathon finishes and then that's it, right?
Okay, so we want that this is going to be finished afterwards. If it's
Afterwards,
really
definitely.
okay, cool, get it. So you said there are several categories. So there's an overall winner category, and then we've got NFTs and other categories. Is there going to be only one winner per category, or are you planning? If you know that already, I don't know. Then please share it. Is there going to be first place, second runner-up, and stuff like that, or is it like only one per category?
The former. So there would be 3 winners per category.
Okay, awesome.
In that case, so we did a brief breakdown in the CFP details on Reddit and GitHub, so we can take a look there. But again, more details in terms of how much per category would, what would the rewards will be.
Okay, so that we have a big viewership out there. So can a community actually follow along during the 6 weeks? Is there going to be kind of some coverage? Is there going to be some updates? Are you planning to take them on this journey, how these things are developed? Or is it more or less, okay, deadline, somebody starts coding somewhere and 6 weeks later they submit it, and then 2 weeks later there's a prize handed out? So how do you want to make the community participate? Because I think that's going to be really exciting and also a good marketing thing to see that there is something built. That's why we do, for example, the Rebuild Show. What's the plan here, YC?
Yeah, so 2 components. I think number 1 is with DevPost, because we are getting the help on the marketing side. So definitely there's going to be some coverage. I believe you would be able to also, everyone will be able to see what is being proposed, what is being built there. And internally or within the community, we can also think about how we want to feature these projects, either through maybe Twitter, either through maybe the Rebuild Show or DeFi News Show, or whichever it is. I think there are many channels that we can tap on today, which we have already established as sort of like a microphone to the community. So I think it's really, the idea is definitely there for us to have to, in a certain milestone, maybe every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, showcase what's the updates on the hackathon. I think the only question is how we're going to do it.
Cool. Sounds exciting. I think everybody's going to love to follow along and see what's coming along and to see the process. I find it a fantastic marketing tool to draw a lot of new people in, to also kind of kickstart DeFi MetaChain and to make it really usable for people out there. Hey, Vasi,
Exactly.
absolutely amazing. Hey, I'm really excited. Guys, master notes out there. I don't want to give any recommendations, but I personally feel super excited about it. I mean, it's a premiere for DeFiChain and for DeFi MetaChain, of course. YC, we're gonna hear more in the in all the channels that you just mentioned. Thank you so much for coming in. Time is up already. I think everybody got a fantastic overview what you guys are planning. Thanks a lot for all the work you guys at Burster Research put in, and yeah, continue the great
Thank
work.
you.
We're looking forward
Thanks so
to
much.
a
Yeah,
successful.
happy to be here. Thanks so much, Mark.
Thank you very much.
Super excited to see what's to come. Thanks,
Cool.
everyone.
All the best for the voting. YC.
Cool.
Say hi to the team. Yeah. Thank you so much,
Yep.
and
Thanks.
bye bye.